Hey, it's Darren with Arbitrage Trade, and I am back here with Daniel Hopwood, which must mean that it's time for Deep Dive with Daniel. Daniel's still across the seas, across the deep blue seas, so we can do our deep dive. And this week he has the subject of NFTs, which is at the National Football, I don't know.
Trading Club. Yep.
There, that's what it is.
Yep.
But the actual title is Understanding NFTs from Hype to Potential Rebirth. Okay, so there's a lot of hope there because I don't know if you know or not, I have some NFTs which are sitting, I don't know where. I have to go back and find where that wallet is. I think I can find it though. But they all came from when AMC was giving them away. If you join their movie club or whatever it was, and then you got anybody that also owned shares at one point, they gave it. So maybe it'll be a collectible someday after the MOAS, and nobody say, "Hey, I want some of those NFTs."
I own one NFT, but it's only because I specifically wanted that one because I got to be a part of a legitimate community that still is doing things with it.
Yes, yes.
And it was not, but it wasn't a Bored Ape or something like that, right? It's like something
I
for a
remember that name.
podcast I listen to, and
Yeah,
you like still to this day the Discord is very active. And
yeah.
I
I mean, are
also
they all
spent maybe $100 on it. So, it's like
worth about?
it's probably to me it's still worth the $100. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
literally
In
have
your own,
I
in
literally
your own
have
mind.
yeah. I mean, for me it's like I literally bought it because of the community aspect, and it's
Right.
continued to do it, right?
No,
So
I had
I'm
I had
like,
a friend
okay.
back then. I had a friend back there when that all blew up, and I think it was when everybody was bored with COVID. But it all blew up, and he would just hound me every week. When are you going to buy NFTs? When are you going to buy NFTs? They're going to be worth something someday. So they did. They did get up to, and we're kind of jumping ahead of the gun here. But anyway, my NFTs, as far as I know, are pretty useless. They're pretty, I guess. I have one that even revolves. Um, but because when AMC bought a share of HYMC, Highcroft Mining, there one came out with that as well. And of course, Adam Aaron is known for saying there's gold in them dire hills or something like that. I don't know. It was goofy at the time, and it still is. But anyway, I think I have about four. And
Okay.
I think my son bought one for, because I remember at one time there was like sports ones that you could buy, like Michael
Oh,
Jordan
the
final.
the video clips one,
Yes,
right?
those, right?
I can't
Weren't
remember
they?
the name, but I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my son, I was actually getting into it then too. So it just shows how hype is. So let's break it all the way back to the beginning here, and just what the heck are non-fungible tokens, or NFTs? What are they?
Yeah, so it's essentially a way to show ownership on the blockchain. They were primarily done on Ethereum, because that was the original platform that had smart contracts so they could kind of execute this stuff. But really, it's a fancy way of saying, legally, I own this. And if you don't believe me, you can go look at the blockchain.
Here's the
Because,
credentials in the blockchain.
everybody's favorite argument was, well, I can take a screenshot of your JPEG,
I
and
remember that.
it's like, true, I can take a picture of a Picasso, but that doesn't mean I own it.
Good point. Very good point. So, I mean, I think you kind of touched on it in the introduction here, but what was the origins of it? Wasn't it right around when everybody was getting bored at home with COVID?
Yeah, it really blew up when like COVID happened. They came out in 2017, so that was before. But
Oh, you said something about
maybe
2010, I think even. I think you mentioned 2010 as actually maybe.
yeah. So the
Yeah,
deep dive I wrote talks about there's something called colored coins and counterparty.
yeah. Okay.
But it wasn't until 2017 when CryptoKitties, which is a name that is one of the blue chip NFTs that, if they ever come back in a significant way, will probably be one of the OG pieces that comes back with some value. But,
Yeah, definitely with
really,
value, yeah.
it was Ethereum launching the ERC 721 standard that,
Which means
was
what?
during. It's a fancy way of just saying they updated things.
Okay. Like Ethereum 2 is about to happen. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah, precisely. It's I stopped trying to follow the technical stuff. I was like, this isn't going to be my career.
Like
So
the updates, you go like 2.1, 2.2. I guess that was the latest
precisely, they just
ERC
chose
7.
more
Yeah.
like complicated names.
It sounds like an airline, but yeah, go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, right.
All right, so all right, that was how the base started, and like I said, I remember the athlete ones, the movie ones, the clips, whatever it was. The art was the biggest thing I remember, because I think you mentioned Bored Ape and
Mhm.
how crazy people were paying for art. And it was like, I need to learn how to make these NFTs now because it was like crazy. Everybody was just going nuts and paying millions of dollars for stuff. And I think you gave a couple of examples of it in your blog. What were those?
Yeah, so I think the ones that were really popular were the crypto punks. That was like a kind of an
Right,
original
right.
one. There was the Bored Apes, and I think Bored Ape did a few iterations or a few copycats. The most high profile sale was for a Blippy uh, piece of art. Or yeah, no, Belpy. I forget how to say it. It's not Blippy. That's the child's cartoon.
People,
Beeple. Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like a legitimate digital artist who made art every day for like 5,000 days in a row. And when he sold
Wow.
one of his pieces on the blockchain, he sold it for $69 million. Now, is that a
Should have
little
learned.
overpriced maybe? Is it a little I think he sold it to some, kind of like Saudi prince situation.
Of course.
That was one of those things though where it's like he is a legitimate artist. I don't think he had ever sold any of his art before then. So I think
That's
for
nuts.
him, that was pretty interesting. But like,
I mean,
when it
good
comes to the
job.
bored apes, it's like computer generated, like your monkey's
Yeah.
face is just a
He took
variation of a
advantage
hundred.
of the trend. I mean, that is awesome. That's what, capitalism is all about, and that's I mean, you take advantage of it. You may think it's funny, and you may make fun of it just like the funds do with or they used to with the whole Ethereum and Bitcoin. Now they're making money out of it. So that's generally what was happening back then is all these people who were into graphic design, they just basically found a
Mhm.
whole new career, even though it was a compact one. And like you said, it might come back someday. But, like I said, I wish I had learned how to do it because I think you can get creative pretty easily, but I never did jump into how do you actually turn into an NFT and all that good stuff. So I gave up
There
and just
was
went back.
some like
Yeah.
pretty interesting ones that just like from a conceptual perspective of when you would
Okay.
like mint it, that it would like run the algorithm and create like genuinely unique art every single time, right? It wasn't like there's 100 ape heads with 100 different colored hairs. Like it was
Yeah.
like everything's legitimately different, like based on a style, and it's all uniquely made in that moment, which is like an interesting concept. Worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe not.
Well,
But
I guess, let's throw in right now, which is AI. AI is now just gone crazy, generative AI. And
mhm.
now you throw that into new art that's going to be coming out, and it might be easy for everyone to make. It's just, and then turn it into an NFT. So maybe that is going to be a thing in the future. You just never know. I think I did create one or two. I just followed, looked it up and just followed step one, do this, step two, do this, and so I think I have my own creative ones out there, but they will never, ever, ever come close to 69 cents, much less 69 million. Um, interest, Interesting they paid 69 million. I guess a really big one would be 420 million. Just because those are the two numbers that all the Reddit
Yep.
people love so much. And I think you mentioned, and that's what reminded me of where my 4 or 5 actually sit. You mentioned OpenSea, and I think that is where mine sit. So, do I know the key?
Hmm.
I don't think so, but I think I can come up with it somehow, some way. I have it tucked away in a file somewhere, so I could probably get access to them, just so I could maybe sell it for $1. Um, the so that's when the hype got big, and then all of a sudden not so much. And you talked about a
Hmm.
decline in and basically maybe the death of the hype, um, because too many people were doing it and it was just too, like anything else when you flood a market, everything becomes cheaper. So think that's kind of what happened. I do remember, and you mentioned it too, the environmental concerns. So obviously, when that started happening, we didn't care anymore because here's Bitcoin and Ethereum, so taking up even more energy. So
Mhm.
I don't know that that's going to be an argument anymore. Is how much that takes. I mean, Musk can only put so many supercomputers on the river, like here in Memphis, and all these
Yeah, I mean,
energy power centers that are needed.
I think the environmental narrative was always kind of somewhat like
BS.
cope. Yeah, I mean, if
I think
I
it was
think
BS.
there's a Twitter account that I really like called, I think it's like Visualize Capital or something, or
Hmm,
Visualization Capital, and they have a website too. They just create a bunch of different images that help you visualize, like, like market claims more or less, and it was visualize how much energy crypto mining took versus how
mhm,
much energy the floor space of all the US banks took, right?
right.
And it was magnitudes, right? It was 100 times more than what crypto took. Given is crypto doing the transaction volume that these banks do? No, but it goes to show that, like, you guys are worried about this when, like, JP Morgan alone had like many multiples of the energy use of like Bitcoin. So it's like kind of funny. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
part of the, like, the real big downfall of NFTs, other than, like, COVID kind of ending and people were like, oh, we can go outside instead of look at JPEGs, was that so many of the crypt or the NFT communities and whatnot were just like grifters. You had
Yep.
the Logan Pauls of the world create their community, sell it, their thing, and then pretty much just disappear.
Just in and out, make your
And then
money and
if
go.
you know who CoffeeZilla is, as he's called out many of these people, they've all kind of scrambled back, saying like, "Oh, no, 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 like we're bringing it back," kind of thing.
I never
Even though it's
left.
like, yeah, yeah, right. So it's kind of like, I think when people caught on to the fraud that was happening and realized, oh, we might be the ones holding the bag now, it kind of, the party stopped a little.
Well, the back on that power situation, I mean, surely these security centers and these cloud centers take and use a lot more than this whole industry did. So I
Yeah.
just think it was a narrative. I think funds got together. You know me, all the funds get together. We've got to create some type of narrative to drive all this stuff down so we can make money on the way down because there were one-offs in stocks that were tied to the NFTs. And everybody's decided to, hey, we're going to give away NFT over here to drive our stock up. Oh, they're going to make more money. AMC was one of those. We're going to make some money off of NFTs in the future, blah blah blah. And it was always about kind of like what they did with generative AI when it came out. It's just, oh, NFTs, that's the magic word. You say AI now, it's the same thing as they were saying NFTs back then. So, it was just the next narrative for the funds to get everybody jacked up and then pull the rugs out from underneath them. But I digress. It's just another way. So you think, and you said in your blog that there could be a rebirth, and you even mentioned it. So I'll hang on to my
Yep.
NFTs while you tell me how in the world they actually might go from 60 cents to $6 here in the future. Because I know that probably the resurgence of Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I'm not surprised you came up with this subject, Mr. Millennial, because you went straight from Bitcoin in your blog to I could have predicted this from Bitcoin to Ethereum. And it's like, oh, well, now we'll just make sure the next narrative is NFT rebirth. So go right ahead and tell me how this is going to rebirth.
All right. First of all, I'd like to say that I have no dog in this fight. The one NFT I
You
own,
said
I'll
you have
never sell.
NFT. Okay.
Right. And your 60-cent NFTs are probably never going to be worth more than that. What I'm talking about with the
Ooh,
rebirth of NFTs
ooh, ouch.
is the underlying technology, right? So
Mm.
it's essentially a way to show ownership on the blockchain, and it's immutable, right? So I think it becomes really interesting from a
Nope, nope. For
perspective
some
of,
people, you need to say what immutable means.
it can't be changed unless the owner or
Owner,
other
right,
parties agree to make change on it, right? So
right.
I think one of the more interesting things is there's a lot of like land right disputes, right? Not so much in America, but like in other countries or around the world of like who owns what, right?
Mhm.
And even with legitimate pieces of art, there's fakes made. You don't know where it is, and having something on the blockchain, right? If Darren, you owned a house, I wanted to buy your house, you'd be able to prove to me that you own the house. We could have a smart contract that when I've paid you all the money, all the ownership of the house is handed to me. And it's all, done through a smart contract that,
Hmm.
sure, maybe we have a lawyer set it up, but it wouldn't need constant maintenance, constant talking about. I pay you the money, and then when I am fully have paid you, you send me over the ownership of the house, and then we're all squared away, and there's no more lawyer involved. I'm on the blockchain as the owner, you're on the blockchain as the previous owner, and everyone knows the Carfax.
So you're gonna pay me in Bitcoin or a crypto for that. Ideally, in the future, it won't go through central banks and through other people's hands. It'll just basically go from crypto to basically pay up for the smart contract, right?
Yeah,
I don't
I
know. It's
mean,
conceptual
and
for me.
that is how it would work now. You would, in this case, you'd pay someone with Ethereum, right? I imagine as things go on, it has to be done through stable coins, right? Like we're not just going to be like paying you through this like kind of volatile asset. Like, sure, if I want to have my Ethereum on the back end that I'm taking out for a pool of capital, and it probably would be a layer two, which is
Mm.
like another blockchain that sits on top of the main blockchain.
Mhm.
And but I imagine it'd have to be some kind of USDC or USDT situation.
Okay. Oh, is there anything else you want to throw into the basically the rebirth, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with the future, possibly. It's kind of the same thing, but we'll anything else you want to add there?
No, I
Nope.
wish you the best of luck with your 60 cent ETFs or NFTs, whatever they're called.
Yeah, see, this is how you sound like one of the funds again, is because it's like, I have X amount of dollars and I can buy all of this stuff and my stuff's more valuable, but you, Mr. 80% of the country, you have
First of
these
all, I
little
don't think my
you have these
NFT is
little
worth shit.
you have these little yeah, but if you compare yours to oh, I got you. Okay. You're just trying to
Oh, you have your little
get my blood pressure
pictures
all up.
that you like to trade. Yeah, those little pictures.
That sounded terrible. All right. So anyway, be looking out for maybe, possibly in the future, especially if once Ethereum takes off and the smart contracts become more normal than they are now, that maybe NFTs will slide their way in there because art's always art, no matter how it's done, and maybe that will become an art again. Especially when you have to look at. By the way, in the home ownership one that you talked about, does that mean squatters can't come in and live at your place, or we'll have to change those rules or whatever?
Well,
That's
I
a
think
whole nother subject, sorry.
I was gonna say I think that's just like a government legal thing, which is also just
Yes.
an insane idea
Regulators.
that that still exists.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, it's not 1720 with homesteading. Like, what the hell?
Yep. Yep, yep, yep. All right, man, I appreciate it. This is very conceptual right now, but you never know. It could all the pieces could be put together in the blockchain, if you will, and it will actually become a full thing. And in the future, we'll be paying through smart contracts and crypto for everything because that would make all of you millennials happy. And SOGs will be back trying to figure out how to plug and replug the machine in. So, actually, I know a lot more than that. Like I said, I own some NFTs. But thanks again, Daniel. I will see you next week on Deep Dive with Daniel.
Talk to you next week, Darren.